I have something little special planned for you all today and have a very special guest joining us from Retrobit. Let's all give a huge shout out to Andy, product marketing specialist from Retrobit. Gotta say, Andy, it's great to be able to chat over voice again. We haven't talked outside of email since E3 2019, so thanks again for agreeing to chat today.
Of course. Pleasure.
If you wouldn't mind, can you explain a little bit about what you do for Retrobit?
Of course. My main roles at Retrobit are marketing and product development. I also assist with designs, social media, photography, product manuals, and I also oversee our playtesting. And since, we're a small company, so we all have to wear multiple hats.
That is quite an insane amount of hats indeed.
Yep. A lot of it is very demanding, but it's also very fun.
So, product manuals, testing, marketing, social media, photography. Like, dang. Gotta say, the quality on all of those have been really good, so awesome. Glad that it works out so well.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I do all of that. We work within a team, so, I have, very committed teammates within our company that, they can throw in a helping hand whenever we need it.
It's one of the greatest things about small teams is that everyone is more willing to help each other out. It's more of a group effort. Like, we all rise, we all fall. There isn't kind of like what you see in bigger companies where like people are just willing to stick it to other members on their team just out of spite.
Yeah, there's nothing like that. It's honestly, especially during these times, it's been like, let's push together. Let's group up, team up, come up with ideas, execute, and it's been going good so far.
That is so awesome to hear. How have things been working from home during the whole COVID-19 pandemic? I hope the staff, yourself, have all been well.
I'm really proud to say that our management team were like pretty quick to react during the earlier stages, where a lot of the stuff was kind of uncertain. Like in a very short amount of time, our team just quickly transitioned to working from home. And whenever we do have to be in the office, we all have a PPE, protection. We all have our little personal space safety going on. It's a big priority for our company that everyone is safe and healthy.
That's great. I've been stressing in articles I've been writing anytime I go on air that it's important that like I'm glad that companies have been keeping the workers safe these days, like canceling events, canceling all this stuff. So I'm glad to hear that Retrobit was on top of that right from the get go.
Yeah, it's on a personal level, it was very, very strong. The response that we saw, not just from our management team, but from a lot of people within the industry, and then sure enough, our county and state stepped up immediately. So yeah, it's been really great.
What types of things will require you to actually come into the office still that you can't do at home? If you can talk about that a little bit.
At least as far as my role is concerned, like new products, just picking up stuff for testing, for photography. We all have to kind of know, know what we're selling. So, whenever a new prototype shows up or whenever a new product shows up, we, gotta take it home. We all have our equipment, our PCs, our Macs, or whatever to test on. And for my case, that's pretty much been it for me. I know we have other team members who, deal with the shipping, the warehouse stuff. People who deal with, obviously with our accounting, human resources, and management. They always have to be present whenever our team members are at the office. So that kind of boring stuff.
Yeah, it may be boring, but I still find it absolutely fascinating. So thank you for filling us in here.
Mhm.
Now, I know there are many Retrobit fans out there who can't wait to see more of what is to come from the company, and I believe the first new products coming out after this interview will be the new Tribute 64 colors, correct?
We have the new Tribute 64 colors. They should be available around the end of May. We're excited to see, people have them in their little setups and then, have them in their hands and try them out. We have a lot more lined up for this year, which I'm sure we'll get into.
I know I've been super excited about the new Tribute 64 colors myself. I've been loving seeing all of the social media presence about them, and the fact that you guys did a fan vote to determine them. What made you guys decide to do a fan vote for the colors? And how were they chosen?
I believe that was an idea that we had kicked around since we released the first three. Obviously, the N64 has four multiplayer ports. So we wanted to fill that gap for player four. Our community is very vocal about what they would like to see, so it just seemed fitting to put it to a vote. Internally, we drew up some ideas from the most requested colors, and we came up with like around 6 or 7 to start with. But then we also, for the voting system itself, we allow people to kind of write in as well. Off the bat, we already knew we wanted to get the classic gray and the atomic purple because they were so heavily requested. And then we also thought of, the smoke gray, the rose quartz pink, which are kind of popular. And then we kind of threw in our toxic orange and stellar yellow colors because they were kind of unique, but they also kind of fit in. And then one of our team members came up with the sea salt ice cream color. That was like the last one we kind of added in, and that's how it got started. It was just a coming together of the minds, so to speak.
Well, thank goodness for that team member that asked for the sea salt ice cream, because that is the one I definitely championed behind during the whole vote process.
Yeah, it really kind of came through. I know like we were playing with having the right shade of color for that one, but I think it came out really well. I've seen the prototype that I received was really nice.
Oh, the pictures have looked absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I can't wait to get them out there.
Now, was the outcome of the vote surprising in any way? Were you surprised that sea salt ice cream managed to take home third place there?
I think the entire process kind of surprised me personally. I know our team was kind of surprised as well. We all assumed that the classic gray would be up there. We had expected atomic purple to win out. Some of our team members actually thought it was going to be number one from the get-go. But then we started to see the battle between, for third place between smoke gray, rose quartz, and sea salt ice cream. And it went all the way down to the final day. I was looking at the graph like every hour, just jumping left and right. And it was only going to be down to one winner, but we decided to pick three after seeing how strong the response was between everybody.
That's right, you were only going to do one original winner. That's. Oh, I totally forgot about that. Yes, thank you so much for doing the three. I mean, I'm sure that's not easy to coordinate at all, but that's fantastic. I really have no other way to put it.
Yeah, it was very fulfilling for us. It was just like, why not? Let's just do three. These, everyone's pretty gung ho about, those colors. And if we were to just say, just classic gray out of all these beautiful colors, it would have been kind of like well, I don't want to say let down, but it would have been incomplete, especially given like how passionate people were for them.
Yeah, I imagine there'd be a little bit of social media backlash out there over it. The top three, that was great. I was happy to see that. I think everyone else will be too.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, as for those other colors that didn't make the vote, are there any plans to maybe release those in a future production run?
It's always an option for us down the line. I think right now we have a very healthy variety of colors available. I mean, that's 6 different colors, but we won't rule anything out at this point. I know people will want to see their favorite colors down the line, but we'll keep that in mind. We'll see what happens.
I know plenty of people have asked for like every single fantastic color, so maybe some point down the line everyone can have a Tribute 64 to match up with their fantastic console.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen the people who matched up, especially like with jungle green and forest green. Yeah, it's really nice seeing them match.
Now, according to Amazon, the new colors are expected to ship around May 22nd. You yourself just said near the end of May. Is that date pretty solid at this point, or could there be any more possible delays?
As far as I know, that date is solid. We're hoping for sooner, barring any delays due to COVID or any new regulations that's out of our control. But yeah, that's pretty solid for us right now.
Awesome. I'm sure everyone that has a pre order locked in is going to be happy to hear that, especially if it ends up being sooner.
Yeah, for sure. Right now, Amazon, there's a lot to do with Amazon as far as COVID goes. But right now, we haven't been informed of any delays.
It's great to hear. Now, speaking of the color variants, are you planning on doing USB versions in these color variants as well, or just standard port?
For the time being, there will be just the N64 ports. We're looking into the possibility for USB versions of these, but right now I can't confirm anything.
Okay. I know there are plenty of people out there who have been snagging up the USB versions of these controllers any chance they can get, especially for their emulation setups with PC or RetroPie or things like that.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites to be honest. To be honest, the USB Tribute 64.
So, speaking of the USB Tribute 64s, has any major redesigns been done on those since original launch, or are they just pretty much the same?
USB Tribute 64s, at the time being, I don't believe there have been any major changes. We are obviously listening to, feedback to see if we, if we can make any further changes.
All right, that's good to hear. I'm really glad to see that controllers do get iterated over their lifetime. That way, it's just That way it just continues to become a better product as time goes on.
Yeah, we're in a position with some of our products where we can be like, where we can actually listen to the people and just see like make little tweaks here and there to kind of make their experience much better.
Now, I know you've all gotten flack for it, but I'm actually glad that you guys do delay products to ensure they meet high quality standards, usability standards, and are what fans are looking for.
Yeah, it's something we all want. Deep down inside, yeah, we do understand people want stuff quick. They want it to be right. They want it to be perfect. But sometimes we just gotta let the cake cook a little longer.
Mm. It's another one of the benefits of being able to iterate the product over time, I suppose. So even if it isn't 100% right out of the gate, it can be updated later in future revisions.
Yeah, and that's it's down to the people. If they want, we get people saying, I like this controller, but I want to do this, this, and this, or I would like to do this, this, and this with it. And sometimes we will be like, well, not sometimes, but we do listen to the feedback, and we will consider it, to see if it's something that we can do.
And then you have crazy people like me that take your Tribute 64s and play Halo with them through PC.
Yeah, I showed that around to our development team. They're like, "What is he doing?"
Hey, I got top of the leaderboard. All I can say.
Yeah, it works. If it works, it works, right?
Exactly. Anyways, the Tribute 64s have been pretty well received at this point. I myself recommend them quite frequently in streams and on the website. But any word on when we might finally be able to get our hands on the wireless Tribute 64?
Right now, the prototype we have is coming together really well. We're working on a few more things. I know that I recently was surprised by what our development team was able to do with it. It'll be a nice surprise to announce when the time comes.
That is a serious teaser right there. Has the design changed at all since the last teaser you guys put out on social media?
There have been a few tweaks, but nothing too drastic as far as the form factor is concerned. We are working on finalizing some internal features and for testing as well. All of that, of course, we'll be sharing when the time comes.
All right, that's great to hear. Speaking of that form factor, though, has it changed at all since the wire tributes? Is it going to be any larger, any smaller, or is it going to be about roughly the same?
Looking at it, it kind of looks the same. You will notice immediately the D-pad is shifted a little bit to the left, kind of close to the left hand. Overall, the size is a little bit larger. It kind of feels more ergonomic. We know the Tribute 64, the original form factor, is very compact, but still comfortable, and we decided to kind of, expand it just a little bit. There's really small tweaks, and once you have it in your hands, you'll realize what they are.
I can't wait to try that out for myself. When I went hands on with the prototype at E3 and seeing the shifted D pad, that was the prototype that was still using like the Wii U gamepad style triggers, though. So in the last picture you showed off, you showed a more traditional Tribute 64 design.
Yeah, that has changed. We tried it out, we tested it out, and we decided that the current iteration is something much more promising.
Since this is going to be a wireless one, are there going to be different types of wireless options available at launch? Like with the Sega controllers, you have Bluetooth, 2.4 gigahertz. Is that something we're going to see moving forward for most of the wireless line?
For the time being, I can confirm it's going to be 2.4 gigahertz wireless. We're still, researching and checking our options are going forward. I don't want to deny or confirm anything as far as outside of the 2.4 wireless.
Well, even having confirmation for 2.4 gigahertz wireless is going to please so many people out there.
Yeah, it's something that we were really thrilled about to get working.
For these wireless controllers, should we expect any memory card or rumble pack support? I know that a memory card can be done through a dongle in the N64 port itself and the receiver, but is rumble something that we can maybe see?
Currently, I can't tell you anything more on that, but yes, we're definitely looking into all the original accessories. We definitely want to make this as accessible as possible, as in terms of having the original N64 experience just wireless. As far as like what will and won't be compatible, that's something we will discuss at a later date.
Well, that is very interesting to hear, and thank you for sharing. Now, we kind of already went over this a little bit about fan feedback having an impact on the Retrobit product line, and with the Wireless Tribute 64, that will mostly be in the D-pad, correct?
A little bit of everything. We've been listening to people's experiences with certain titles, especially when it comes to people, pointing out the D-pad or pointing out the shoulder buttons, the triggers. The original idea behind the tribute was, of course, the Hori pad, because, it was only released in Japan, but it inspired us, and that's why we wanted to pay tribute to it. And the original design that we came up with is not one to one, but we did enhance it with a few things while trying to stay true to the essence of the Horipad. And yeah, we take the feedback from our fans very seriously. We listen to how they want to experience their gameplay. You can't really please everyone, but we listen to the comments and suggestions, and that's what's been we've taken all that into consideration when it comes to developing the wireless Tribute 64.
Horipad. I'm not gonna lie, like, I've used Horipads quite a bit, but I've never been the biggest fan of them due to my larger hand size, so when the Tribute 64 came out and I saw that it was going to be more Horipad inspired, I was a little concerned at first, but then when you guys sent out the review unit and I actually felt it and it was bigger, like, it was very pleasing.
I'm glad to hear that. I mean, it's been everyone's experience, honestly. Like, it's similar to yours. Like, people see it, but then, they might think a certain way, but then they actually play with it. And then, they kind of get it.
It's one of those cases where, like, the picture just really does not do it justice. I even when I take pictures of it myself, I'm like, this has, like, what? And then you play with it and it's like, okay, we got a pretty comfortable form factor. We've got the thumbstick, we got the face buttons. I myself have never been too concerned about the D-pad placement just because of my larger hand size, and again, N64 games weren't designed to use D-pad and thumbstick at the same time. So, I mean, I know for me personally that's never been an issue, but again, it's just great to see all of this feedback put into place, being implemented into future products and things like that.
It's like I said before, it's something we're very much looking into, as far as fan feedback, professional player feedback, media, everyone who gets their hands on it. We do our best to hear them out.
Do you mind if I share a personal story real quick?
Sure.
So we're at E3, we're chatting about the product line, the upcoming product line, and anytime someone would come to the booth, like, I mean, was open to the public, of course, so there's a lot of people just filing in and out, but you would be there with a pen and paper just writing down things that people would tell you. And that really has stuck with me because I can't think of many other places that have been able to talk to that have done that. And so I just wanted to get that out there as well. Like, like Retrobit talks about taking fan feedback, listening to everybody, but like, I've seen it firsthand. Like, we have pen and paper at E3 taking down suggestions. Like, it's there's a serious desire here behind fan feedback.
Yeah, he just reminded me about that. Like what is he talking about? Then I'm like, oh yes, that pen pad. I remember. I filled like half of it up by the time the E3 was over, but it was worth it.
Now, I asked on Twitter specifically about things people might want to ask as we did this interview, and one of the things I was asked most was about the possibility of remappable shoulder buttons on the wireless tributes. Has there been any thought put into that feature, or would it be just too hard to implement?
As far as remapping goes, that's still a possibility. Our development team is still working on internals, trying to, make it as best as a full, complete kind of gameplay experience as far as N64 goes. And then outside of that, we also want to make it as comfortable as possible whenever you want to take it to, another console, so to speak. And, the shoulder buttons are something we're looking at. Right now, I can't confirm anything on that regard, but it's definitely something we want to try out.
I'm sure that is going to please people out there that have been asking for that, so thanks for letting us know.
Of course.
Going back to E3, there were a couple of other prototypes shown off, including the Game Boy Player inspired N64 and GameCube controllers. Then there's also that clone NES Max type controller. Any of those still in the works, or have those been kind of canned at this point?
Not canned. They're just tentatively on hold. I'll mostly do because of COVID. We've already have a pretty stacked 2020, but the outbreak kind of forced us to make some pretty tough decisions. But so these will just have to sit back a little bit longer in order for them so that we can give them the attention they deserve.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Are there any other controllers in the works for PlayStation or PlayStation 2? It just doesn't seem like Sony's older consoles get much love from the reputable retro companies, and I know that there are tons of us out here that would love to see some modern alternatives, especially if they get the Retrobit wireless treatment with the 2.4.
We're always looking at like all these other consoles. I can't name them all because there's so many, but it's definitely something we're looking at. But right now, I don't believe we have plans for it at any time soon. But down the line, that might be a possibility.
As long as the door is open, I think we could be okay with it.
Yeah, for sure. There's always something our development team is working on, so that always might happen.
All right, let's switch over to the Sega side of the console wars here. I, like many others I'm sure, was ecstatic to see the Dreamcast Controller tease a couple weeks ago. 6 face buttons. That's an awesomely radical redesign for the system and will be great for all the arcade fighters. What are some of the other changes that are being put into the redesign, if you can share?
Well, we have a lot of fans of the Dreamcast in our office, so the six face buttons was a no-brainer. Right now, our focus is improving the already awesome Dreamcast controller design. So that would be the analog thumbstick. It'll be more modern, more durable analog stick, and the D-pad will be similar to that of the Saturn control pad. We'll have more details pretty soon.
So as for the modern thumbstick, are we talking more Tribute 64 style, where it won't just be straight plastic, but will actually have like a little rubberized grip too?
It'll have a grip to it for sure.
Yes. Okay, important question. Which side of the controller will the cord come out of?
The cord will be coming out of the top.
Bold. I like it. And I'm sure you've already been asked this as well, but will there be any plans to release an original Dreamcast style model without any of the changes? Or is that just not something that the company's looking into at this time?
At the time, that's not on our plans, but down the line, that might be an option for us.
What about the possibility of a dual analog version for the console? I mean, the system could support dual analog controllers, but no controllers were obviously made to support that, and no games support that, but the homebrewed scene would be able to go wild if such a thing came out.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely respect the homebrew scene out there. Right now, we aren't planning on a dual analog Dreamcast controller for now. The idea is still being kicked around, but we won't be able to make any solid statement until we really look at our future development plans.
I'm sure that the adoption rate of the ones that you guys do release will also be a factor in that as well.
Yeah, remains to be seen, but we're hopeful.
Now, one of the things that got me most excited about the latest tease was that you said the wireless options are going to be available the same day as the wired options. Is that correct?
It's always our goal to always have both wired and wireless options, at least with our Sega controllers. We're still working hard at giving people the best experience they can, especially for the Dreamcast controller, for old players and new players. And as we get closer to the release, we'll be able to share more details about availability dates and, where they can purchase from. But for now, we're trying to bring the window pretty tight between them.
Okay, awesome. Now, will there be 2.4 gigahertz options and Bluetooth options available for the Dreamcast controller like the Saturn and Genesis models, or are you going to go strictly 2.4 gigahertz this time around?
For now, I don't have confirmation to give you on that. We're still looking at our options.
And if a 2.4 gigahertz model does come out, will it include the dual receivers like the Genesis and Saturn models as well? Because I have to admit, you've kind of spoiled us on that now.
Well, that is a plan. If we go that route, that's definitely the trend we want to keep going with.
Yes. Thank you for telling us that. I'm sure that'll make so many people that have been nervous about that happy. Now, again, for the wireless options, is Rumble and VMUs going to be supported? It kind of goes back to what we were talking about with the Tribute here. The Dreamcast controller obviously had the attachable accessories, so is that being worked on to make them compatible as well?
We're still looking at making the original accessories compatible. The VMUs for sure. We want to make sure everyone gets to experience the VMUs again. But as far as Rumble and accessories and all that stuff, we're still working on getting compatibility confirmation as much as we can.
Awesome to hear. I mean, Rumble on the wireless controllers always seems so sketchy on these ones where it used an accessory, so I understand personally if it doesn't happen, but the fact that it's being looked into just brings a smile to my face personally. I'm a huge fan of Rumble ever since Star Fox.
We all have memories of having that big old brick, but it was so fun.
Going back to a more overall look at the Sega line, how has it been received so far? It seems to me like it's been pretty well received. I'm seeing a lot of praise from media sites, users, but obviously I don't have the behind the scenes look that you do, but has reception been as positive as it's looked online?
It's been pretty amazing. On a personal note, I wasn't that big of a Sega fan growing up as a kid. When I came to Retrobit, it was kind of in the middle of the Sega hype as it was growing, and it totally changed my view. Overall, it's been really great with the working on all these Sega products, but also working with Sega. You know, they have teams in America, Japan, and Europe, and they've all been incredibly supportive of what we've done. And it's allowed us to meet so many Sega fans and communities too.
I love to hear that Sega was so involved with the whole production of this. I mean, I know the controllers are officially licensed by them, but they can license it out and just leave you guys to go do it all by yourselves. So hearing that they were so involved with the process is just great.
Yeah, they've been there pretty much every step of the way.
If you don't mind me asking, who approached who for the start of the whole collaboration, if you're allowed to speak of such things?
It was always our dream to be able to collaborate with a company like Sega. So we decided to see how open they would be in terms of recreating controllers and other peripherals. We shared our vision with them, and they really liked what we had in mind. So yeah, the rest became history.
Any possibility we could see a Sega-style fight/arcade stick at some point down the line, in the same vein as the NES Power Stick? Because that thing is still one of my favorite controllers you guys have made in recent years.
We actually have a lot of talented members on our team that like to tinker with arcade sticks. We're hopeful to bring something like this to our fans. It would definitely be a fun project.
Ooh, the gears in my head are just spinning in excitement after that.
Someone brought one of those to us at Portland, I believe. They're like, here, take it, make it.
That's awesome. Oh man, I really wish I could have made it to Portland. 1 year. Not this year, obviously. Everything's canceled because of COVID, but 1 year.
Pretty fun.
So I've been asked this question online, in articles, in YouTube comments, but are there any plans being made to do PS4, Xbox One supported versions of these Sega controllers?
We're always looking at what we can and can't do. Right now, we have our plans set out, but we're still looking at what we can do. You know, right now, the Xbox One, the PS4, they're going to be going through some changes pretty soon. You know, the PS5 is on the horizon, so is the Xbox Series X soon as well. And we're really excited for those too. And so right now, I would say that we're very much looking forward to those, as well as compatibility with other consoles.
Now, for any users out there that do want to use these controllers on the PS4, Xbox One, is there a way you would recommend them doing so? I've seen comments about the Brook adapter. I've personally used the Xbox app on the PC to use them on an Xbox One. But is there anything you guys would specifically recommend?
For now, I think what you stated works. The Xbox app on PC for the Xbox One. As for PS4, there's also options too. I believe there's the Brook adapter, the PS3 to PS4 adapter converter. There's people who, I mean, I believe they themselves have released firmware specifically to allow like full button mapping on our controllers. So they should definitely be checked out.
Wow, that's really cool to hear. I didn't know about that. One last little thing about Sega here. One of the most popular pieces I wrote last year was when you guys revealed the Sega Nomad style handheld during CES. Any updates you might be able to give us on that system status?
So the Genesis Portable is currently on development hold for the time being. There's a lot we want to do with it. I'm sure from what you saw, you kind of understand, and a lot of work has to go into it. So for now, it's considered on hold.
It makes sense. I mean, making a portable Genesis is in and of itself its own beast. I imagine you guys would probably go a system on a chip route and getting that set up to work properly, having proper audio. Like, there'd be a lot of work involved in doing so. So I don't think it really surprises me to hear that it's on hold currently.
Yeah, it's pretty common, unfortunately, given the circumstances with COVID. But you know, people should understand that it's definitely in our scope of view.
Any other systems you might be able to tease us with that might be in the scope of view?
Outside of the Genesis Portable, we will be revisiting some of our older models, such as the Retro Duo, the Trio, and the Retro Duo Portable. We should hopefully have some more details to share in the near future.
Sweet. I was not. The Retro Trio Plus just barely came out, so seeing another revision on that so soon was not something I would have expected.
Yeah, we, like I said, our development team is very busy.
It sounds like it. Now, for you personally, are there any systems that you wish that Retrobit would tackle?
Oh boy. Personally, I would probably it would take a lot of work to get a handle on some of the earlier Hudson Soft stuff. But I think at this point, Konami is already undertaking it themselves, especially with, as far as like the PC Engine and Turbo Graphics.
Ooh,
Um,
yes.
those were always kind of outside of the big three, or at least big two, growing up.
Oh, yeah.
So I will always be interested in, trying out and see one day we can get our hands on that. But of course, wishful thinking.
But speaking of PC Engine stuff, any thoughts of introducing your own Retrobit style PC Engine controllers, maybe for the Mini?
At the time, we don't have anything to announce on that front, but it was something we're looking at, especially now. We recently heard that our Genesis controllers are, at least the wireless ones, are compatible with the PC Engine Mini, so that's a happy accident.
Yeah, that is a happy accident, really, because I mean, PC Engine was one of those weird consoles where it had like the original 2 button controllers, then you could also spring for like the 6 button controllers. So
hmm
having the 6 button Genesis pads work on that, I honestly feel like that would be good enough myself. I don't need the original form factor.
Yeah, it's I have to try it out myself. I know our team recently received for testing purposes, so I'll have to try that out myself.
Speaking of your 6 button controllers, Polymega, you guys have specifically sent out stuff to Polymega to ensure it was compatible with that system as well, right?
Yeah, we gave them a little care package, and they've been pretty open about having our controllers work on the Polymega itself, and we appreciate the work they've done so far, and it's really impressive to be honest.
I liked what I saw at E3, and I have to admit that it's really getting me into PC Engine stuff specifically, because, like you yourself said, it's never been the most popular system, so I mean, I never even knew it existed until probably late GameCube days.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was hearing that it was a CD system, and outside of the Sega CD, I'm like, who else has a CD system going on right now? And it was the PC Engine slash TurboGrafx, and their stuff looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have to agree with that, having looked into the library now. So I think one of the greatest things about these emulator systems, things like Polymega, the Retro Trio Plus, is that they do include the HDMI out options to provide some sharper pixel output. But Retrobit does have a history of making some little bit higher end video AV products. I mean, my very first Retrobit product was the first VGA box the company released like way back in 2007, 2008. Any thoughts about getting back into that side of the market, the high-end AV side?
For that, we're still kind of looking at what our options are. I can't confirm that, that's going to be a possibility, but, we shouldn't rule anything out. We definitely want to improve people's experience. And unfortunately, not everyone has a CRT. So, that's definitely something we consider.
Now let's take a minute to talk about what I guess has become a third pillar for the Retrobit brand, which is Retrobit Publishing. How many titles have been released under the label so far?
So in 2018, we released a series of multi-carts, but the Retrobit Publishing brand, the essence of that has been our collector's editions. And currently those are R-Type 3 and Super R-Type, Holy Diver, and Metal Storm. All three of them were originally developed by IRIM. And very soon we'll be adding more titles to the family.
So speaking of those early multi-cart releases like the Joe and Mac and the NES collection, you guys used a custom cartridge design for those, but what made you decide to go back to the original style shells for Holy Diver, Metal Storm, and R-Type?
So the custom tooling we used for the early multi-carts was something we explored. We're proud of what we were able to do for our first outing. They came with some buttons and some stickers for hidden, especially for like hidden gems like Magical Drop 2, which I think was the first time it was ever translated to English officially. But just as quick as we started, we wanted to do it bigger and better with our collector's editions.
How easy is it to work with these companies to get the rights to do these reprints?
It varies. Each company has their own licensing process. For example, with IRM, they were more interested in their pachinko business, and they didn't really understand why we wanted to re-release Metal Storm when we originally approached them about it, but it seems to have worked out.
Oh, they don't understand. It makes me so sad. It's like Konami. Don't understand why people like your games. Come on. So what does Retrobit specifically look for when deciding to pursue a reprint?
So our goal with publishing these games is accessibility. We feel like retro gaming should be accessible both to new players and to veterans. So in today's world, people are getting priced out of experiencing some really good titles. Or some instances, it wasn't even released in some regions. So it becomes an entirely new experience for them for us to share with them. And we do our best to curate an experience while also being affordable, but also special. And it lets us highlights the game's history. So we get to add some additional things to like the take it easy code for Holy Diver and stuff like that.
I had to use that code, not gonna lie.
Yeah, we used it a lot in testing as well.
And obviously, you guys aren't afraid to translate games yourselves to make these possible. I mean, the Metal Storm Collector's Edition standalone edition, you brought over the original Japanese version, which didn't have the changed color palette, which was more difficult and had the whole story sequence.
Yeah, we have a very dedicated team. We also have partners who give us a little help here and there. And yeah, translating these titles has been very enriching. And it's been very interesting to see the differences in the various versions as well. I know I started, well, rather, the whole packaging process, the whole bringing together Metal Storm. I was there from the very beginning. And it was very interesting to see just what the little differences are and what was different from other Japanese titles. So, because Metal Storm came out in the US first, oddly enough. So it's just one of those weird quirks.
That is interesting. I wasn't sure on the specific release dates, but that is very interesting that it came out in the US first, considering that is such a gimped version by comparison.
It's still a very good version of the game. It was released in the US first, and then I believe it was Tamtex that did it. And then when IRM brought it back to Japan, they decided to make it a little bit difficult, a little bit more difficult, and then added the opening cutscenes. And I believe in the North American version, those cutscenes are already in there, but they just don't appear in the game at all. They're just not programmed to appear.
Yeah, that is very interesting. I wonder if there's a way to like use a Game Shark code to go and explore them or something. That'd be a fun side project one of these days. We can't talk about the current Retrobit releases without talking about the special editions because I mean they have been some of the best retro special editions that have come out in like the last few years, especially priced to content wise. They're not overly expensive. They come with really cool pack-ins, and I mean we're not looking at $100 re-release of Lion King for crying out loud. No offense to Lion King, I love that game, but $100 for a $3 game is a lot harder for people to swallow than what you guys have been doing. So, would you say accessibility is still the driving philosophy, even behind the collector's editions?
Um, yeah, it's accessibility. It's also giving value. We want you to share this experience with us, but at the same time, we want you to kind of either have a new experience with a game that you loved before, or just have a brand new experience for a game that you didn't even know existed or you never had to begin with. But yeah, it's definitely accessibility.
Yes, I don't think anyone can complain about the price that Metal Storm was going for. I mean, $79.99, you get that huge box, the figure, the game itself in such authentic packaging to the original, and the other artworks included as well. I mean, this stuff can't be cheap to come by, to license out, to get people to come in to do that artwork, things like that. The fact that you guys are making it so accessible, like, I know I myself am really grateful for that.
It's we're not trying to make a big cash grab and flood the market. That's why it's limited. But we want to celebrate this with everyone. Whether it's you're a hardcore fan or you just heard it for the first time. We want to give everyone the experience of opening up a new game, plugging into your console, and just having a new adventure.
Speaking of new titles, you mentioned that there were a bunch that were coming out this year, later this year, and that were announced in 2019 for NES, SNES, and Genesis, including Mega Man The Wily Wars, which I myself am really excited about because that never got officially released here. Are there any updates on these titles that you could share with us?
We have a lot in store for this year, especially with Retrobit Publishing. The collector's edition, they started with IRM, and it's opened up a lot more licensing and business development opportunities. Right now, we can't share too much just yet, but this year has a lot to offer for the fans.
We are all looking forward to it, so can't wait to see it. Little bit of a insider question here. If someone was interested in helping test out these new titles, how might they get involved with you guys?
we Retrobit, we have a lot of partners involved in every project. It's a big collaborative effort when it comes to designing, developing, and testing. We're thankful for having such a talented team, and we always appreciate everyone's feedback. As far as getting involved in testing, I'll find you.
Hey, that works. Before we let you go, I have one more fun question to ask. If licensing were no issue, which game would you want to see released under the Retrobit label and get the special edition treatment? So, for example, I would die for an official reprint of Mega Man X2 and X3.
No limits, and it's my choice. It would definitely be with Taito. If we can get our hands on some of their more obscure titles, like Little Samson,
Ooh.
some other, releases that maybe we didn't see over here. But honestly, there's just so many out there that have the unfortunate history of just going completely unreleased, untranslated, or they just had very limited availability. And people hit us up with so many different recommendations that it's my eyes spin sometimes because I'm just like, that would be cool. No, this will also be cool. It's like the list goes on and on. So, we're listening and we're always trying ourselves.
I like it. I mean, Little Samson, man, that game is just so unreachable to practically anyone these days. Like, only the most diehard of NES collectors would even think to try that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. That is a good one. Thank you. Thank you for sharing with us.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that's going to do it as far as our questions today are concerned. So thank you again so much, Andy, for coming out and sharing with us. It really means a lot again.
Of course, we're hoping everyone keeps, safe and healthy, and keep a lookout on us. We're still working, and we're hoping to enrich everyone's gaming experiences.
For anyone out there who might not be following you guys, where can they find info about Retrobit?
They can check us out on our website, retro-bit.com. They can also follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, as well as YouTube at Retrobit Gaming. And yeah, we're pretty active there. If you got questions, we should be pretty responsive.
All right. Thank you so much again, Andy. We'll let you go so you can go about continue your day.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for making it to the end of today's video. This was an awesome experience. Thank you once again to Andy for coming out and talking about Retrobit's upcoming products and some of the stuff they've done before. Thank you again. And thank you to each and every one of you who have made it to the end of today's video. I know this was a long one, but there were some really cool tidbits in here, so I hope you enjoyed those as much as I did. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that sub button, that like-dislike button, just depending how much you like today's video. I can't express enough how much it really helps support the channel, and I am grateful to each and every one of you that have done so. Thank you so very much. Now, if you'd like to further help support the channel and make more videos like this one possible, you can always check out my join button here on YouTube or that Patreon link in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. As always, I am just grateful for your consideration, and for those of you who have already done so, thank you once again for your extreme generosity. You are all amazing people. I cannot thank you all enough for keeping this going. But that's going to do it for today, so until next time, stay awesome, and we will see you all back next video.